Mr. Baldwin, you have now 2 minutes for a rebuttal to anything you've heard, or to use as you wish, really.
Well, I believe with all of my heart that our sovereignty, our national independence are hanging by a very precarious thread. I believe that the forces of globalism are not so slowly evaporating what was a constitutional republic and the greatest on earth. I further believe that the two major parties will do nothing to thwart or to diminish what is currently happening. I think one of the things that we see that is facilitating this, perhaps more than any other, is highlighted recently by the bailout of the Wall Street banksters, as I like to call them, for the fraud that they have perpetrated against the American people. And I do not hesitate to use that word, fraud, because I believe the Federal Reserve is a fraudulent system. And I believe that what we must do is return America to sound money principles, which means we must abolish the Federal Reserve. As President of the United States, I would seek to do just that. I would seek to abolish the Internal Revenue Service. I would seek to overturn the 16th Amendment and bring America back to sound money principles. I think the longer we continue to perpetrate this fraud known as the Federal Reserve and allow these criminals to excessively take advantage of the electorate through this fraud, I think we will reach a point of no return here real soon, and we will go over the cliff toward destruction. I think it's critical that we get our financial house in order. Neither Barack Obama nor John McCain will do this. A Chuck Baldwin administration certainly will.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baldwin. Congressman Barr.
Thank you again. The current bailout, as we call it, the current bomb, the Bush-Obama-McCain bailout. Actually, it's not one bailout. I think we've already seen about 4 of them and counting. The line of those that have their hand out for more bailout: the automobile industry, the insurance industry, the mass transit industry, mutual funds. The list is getting longer and longer, already stretches from where I used to hang out when I was in the Congress at one end of Pennsylvania Avenue all the way down to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And this is simply a perfect illustration of what happens when the government gets its hands into our wallet and takes our money and plays favorites with one industry over another, one financial institution over another. They inject tremendous distortions into the marketplace. They prevent the marketplace from operating, which actually, if you all think about it, the market was already starting to self-correct itself. Wells Fargo, a San Francisco-based financial institution that had been, yearning to get into our neck of the woods in the southeastern United States for some time, saw an opportunity in this latest so-called crisis, bought up Wachovia. Didn't ask the government for a dime, didn't ask for any loan guarantees. They saw a business opportunity and made a business decision. Warren Buffett, a man of, I suspect, more means than the 4 of us here put together, saw an opportunity and before the government stopped it, injected, bought up, I think it was about $3 billion in Goldman Sachs. The market was starting to operate. Yet what froze all of that in place? The government froze it in place by saying, oh, we have a better way. We don't want the market to operate. We're going to use taxpayer dollars, borrowed taxpayer dollars, to start monkeying around and distorting the marketplace. Once you open the door to that, there's no end to it. The only change will come by electing Bob Barr's Libertarian candidate to the presidency of the United States. That will change the system.
Thank you, Congressman. Ralph Nader.
In 1938, Franklin Roosevelt sent a message to Congress asking for an independent commission to investigate corporate power abuses. In that message, he said, when government is controlled by private economic power, that is fascism. And so I think that we should start using an adjective before we talk about what government does and doesn't do. Corporate government. It's the corporate state. It's what's bringing together libertarian, conservative, and progressive people around the country, against corporate subsidies, for example, against the bloated, wasteful military budget, against criminal wars of aggression abroad, against violation of our civil liberties, against the disrespect of the key trusteeship of the taxpayer dollar that is being wasted. Wasted by what? Wasted by constant demands by corporate interest groups for more and more and more. The American people have rendered 3 verdicts on the state of our country. 9 out of 10 think that America is in decline. No one's ever had it that high before. 3 out of 4 think corporations have too much control over their lives. And 61% in the Gallup poll say both major parties are failing. But both major parties are very clever. They don't like competition. If they were businesses in the marketplace, they would be indicted for violation of the antitrust laws. They keep people like us off the debates, which they control. It's their own little company, the debate commission, and they don't want anyone else on the stage. It's the only way to reach tens of millions of people, unless you're a mega billionaire. And poll after poll want more of us on that stage. Every poll wanted Ralph Nader since 2000 on that stage. So we have a serious problem in this country, which is the indicators are all going down. More unemployment, more recession, more poverty, more consumer debt, more corporate debt, more government debt, more waste to the taxpayer's dollar, and more unenforcement of the critical health and safety laws of the United States of America.
Thank you very much, Ralph Nader. Let me remind our listening audience on 90.3 WCPN that you're listening to a live debate at the City Club of Cleveland. The third-party candidates, Ralph Nader, Congressman Bob Barr, and Chuck Baldwin. This is the portion where you gentlemen get to ask one another a question. And Congressman Barr, you get the first question. Ralph Nader, you will respond first. You get 90 seconds. You both get 90 seconds to respond. Congressman Barr.
Thank you. One of the areas that I think has been absolutely missing from the manner in which the other 2 parties, the Republican and Democratic parties, have responded to the financial crisis is the Department of Justice has been strangely absent. There's been no prosecutions, not even apparently any significant investigations of what appears to be historic fraud. We in the Libertarian Party believe that this is an appropriate area for the government. I'd like to hear, Chuck, your position as the Constitution Party candidate on the either lack of enforcement or appropriate enforcement of federal laws to right some of these imbalances in the financial crisis. And Mr. Nader, yours too.
Ralph Nader, you get to begin.
That's one of the proposals we have to deal with the corporate crime wave that the Wall Street Journal and Business Week and other publications report on daily. On our website, votenader.org. We have 14 ways to deal with the corporate crime wave. One of them is enough resources in the Justice Department. It's a shocking low number of prosecutors and investigators to do anything. When you hear the FBI is investigating, it's like saying the government's check is in the mail or something. I mean, you know, they don't have the resources to do a job on that. The second thing, we want to shift authority to the shareholders so they control the companies that they own, and they can control the bosses who are supposed to be their employees. Right now, the SEC, over the years, has not given shareholders, they've obstructed shareholders from controlling the company that they own. Thirdly, we can get prison reform as a collateral benefit. Empty the cells of nonviolent drug offenders, which are hundreds of thousands of dollars, get them in shape, prosecute the corporate crooks, throw them in those cells, and you'll have prison reform, because powerful convicts won't stand for these conditions in our prison. And finally, we've got to get a civil right of action. We've got to get people who are ripped off to be able to engage in class actions without harassment and restriction, and to be able to use the courts of law before judge and jury, as our Constitution and 7th Amendment provides. Right in here. More details, votenader.org.
Thank you very much, Ralph Nader.